us, they need us, they need us. We are the children.
Hello, this is Film Talk from Film Lab Nigeria. My name is Efefiong Akpan. Let me ask you, what if you created a TV soap that rivaled South African Jacob's Cross? What if that show featured some of the best actors from Nigeria and Ghana, who turned onset drama, romance, betrayal, and confusion, and suspense into real-life weddings? Imagine that. Then the audience of that TV series are still glued to it Mondays to Friday. Then as at July 8, 2020, 13 seasons of Tinsel TV drama series clocked 2,859 episodes. If you did that, you must be a renowned storyteller and screenwriter and casting director who also earned music or soundtrack credits on movies he created. Please help me welcome Mr. Yinka Ogun, creator of Tinsel, CEO at Mindworks and Next Rated Group, and partner at Inertia Productions and Muse IC Studios. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now let's talk story directions and screenwriting. First of all, what inspired your dream?
Okay, so I've always been interested in storytelling. Storytelling and music had always been my major passions.
And you read architecture.
And
you read architecture.
Yes, I read architecture. I studied architecture. Yeah. So while I was working at, I was working with Ronnie Dico some donkey years back, and it was the first time I was working in a proper TV production house. Before then, I'd been doing soundtrack for films, and I'd done some. I'd hung around a couple of production people because there's some people I went to school with, like Johnny Kim and Co. And through him, I met Reginald Debere, and we had become friends. So I'd hung around production informally. But when I was working with Ronnie, it was the first time I was going to work in a proper production company. And that's when, and with all the people coming in and going, and me going on set and all that, that's why I was inspired to create Tinsel.
Talking about Tinsel, what circumstances inspired you to create Tinsel? I mean, Tinsel is competition between real studios and Odyssey Pictures. Now you talked about actually working in proper studios. I guess that's where your story came from, but let's hear you.
Yeah, so that was it. It was based on a lot of the shenanigans I experienced while working with Ronnie. And in fact, some of the names were inspired by real people I knew around that period. I'll give you an example. The only director I knew well then was Reginald Debere. So my director in it was called Reginald.
Okay.
You know, so it was like that. A lot of the scenarios were based on things that I had tweaked to make them more dramatic. Because I just felt that there was so much happening that all needed to know about it, what people should know more about it.
How did it actually reflect social culture from Nigeria or Ghana?
Well, I guess in a lot of ways, because remember when Tinsel came out, it was the first of its kind.
That's right.
And as it goes with such programs, they have a way of influencing popular culture. So either dressing, the way people talk, even the positive message of the story, because remember, it was an aspirational one. Now we have studios in Nigeria, proper film production studios. We didn't have them then.
Okay.
So it was aspirational. It was us going into the future and say, what if we had a proper studio?
Okay.
That was properly run, yeah. So in its own way, it definitely influenced popular culture. It's subjective. I mean, where I start, I think it did. You might not think it did. You might feel differently, but I think it did.
Okay. How did Tinsel, from the beginning and up till now, how has it been able to instruct your students to know what to write, the kind of themes they should reflect when writing
Okay.
TV series or movies?
Now, you have to understand that Tinsel was the first time we were doing a proper daily show. Daily shows are character driven, they're not story driven. Other kinds of shows, your sitcoms, your dramatic stories, they are story driven, but daily shows are character driven. It was new territory. You understand? We were learning how to tell character-driven stories. And now, and through the years, people have now learned how to do it properly. And so now you have about 5 or 6 of them running concurrently. So how you tell those stories are very different because they're character-driven. It's about the things the characters continue to do. It's not about one major story that starts and ends.
Okay.
So in its own way, yes, so people have learned how to tell those kind of stories. And it's interestingly, even the principles of that are applied to even other kinds of storytelling, in which people just break down the activities of characters and start to juxtapose, which is a spillover of the storytelling style in daily shows, which was started by Tinsel.
Well, I can remember very well when you were trying to recruit me to write a series for you. That was many years ago, if you remember. I sort of did not know about character-driven, definition of stories. You understand? But my next question is talking about cultural shock. You've been in South Africa. You've done training on international shows like Buying Landers, Egoli, and Generations in South Africa. Given your ability to interpret culture, did you experience any cultural shock? Because, I mean, some writers go to some situations, you have to research to understand the culture. Did you ever...
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
One more major shock. Major. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
We speak differently.
Yeah.
So we write differently.
Okay.
And most importantly, our realities are so different. I'll give you an example. I worked under someone who is essentially a legend in South Africa. Her name is Mitzi. She's the #1 head writer story consultant in South Africa. I worked under her.
I would also say that our political system are completely different because they were under apartheid. We were under, what would I say, and semi-freedom, because we were once in a while under military regimes, to and fro, along our history. But you experienced cultural shock working with that head writer. Yeah, go on, please.
So I'm storylining, and then later, when I'm reading out my storylines, I get to a point where everybody's glancing at themselves like, what's he saying? And because I'll be talking, I'll get to a point, and someone will just say, but why don't they just call the police? And I'll be like, in Nigeria, we just don't call police anyhow now. Because when you call police, that's extra money, that's wahala. So our realities were very different.
Would you say South Africans also have been having, or maybe had cultural shock watching Tinsel?
Definitely.
Okay. Now
and I can,
go on.
And I can tell you that's for certain because I remember in the early days, there was an issue that came up between Angela and Amaka, and in which, in a script, I don't know who wrote it, but someone had Angela refer to Amaka as Auntie Amaka, and feedback was like, people were wondering why she was now having an affair with her auntie's husband. And we had to explain that in Nigeria, we call people who are older than us aunties and uncles. And it's not like directly related. Yeah, so you had those kind of issues.
Okay. Now, would you say, having been able to teach students, would you say your students are afraid of research? on themes, objectives, and arguments when it comes to writing scripts? Because my experience in Nigeria is that a lot of people who write scripts run away from research. They don't know. They don't explain the theme. They don't know what objectives they want to obtain in the story. They don't know how to create arguments in scenes. Would you say a lot of, or most of your students, or some of your students, or less of your students have had that kind of problems when it comes to researching?
I think to a large extent, it's not so much about them being my students or not. I think it's a personal choice. Some people write because they want to earn a living. Some people write because they want to be immortalized by their writings.
That's right.
He who wants to be immortalized by his writing will seek to excel, continuously excel. And research is one of the things that make you excel, because you bring out hitherto unknown information, unknown perspectives that give extra value to the audience. You will be immortalized. But if you just want to write the episode and move on to the next, yeah, you'll get paid. And you just might be lost.
And maybe the next job will not come again to you.
You understand?
Yes.
Because you're not durable. There's nothing remarkable about you.
Okay, you talk about value addition. I always love that phrase. Anytime I'm talking about storytelling or screenwriting, it's like a screenwriter having his own opinion, expressing his own pain, his own justifications for any story or for the character that is the lead character. And that leads me to the question of high and low concept. I don't even could explain this aspect, because it's been a problem even in Nollywood, where people don't understand why they should add value to storytelling and screenwriting and be able to move from low to high concept.
Well, I think it's a function of drive. Some people are instinctively complacent, and some people want much more. And to him that we get much more, he has to give much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go out of your way to read up stuff, learn stuff. I mean, someone like me, I read up all kinds of things. I watch all kinds of shows because I just want to absorb knowledge. I spend most of my time, I watch Nigerian shows, but I also spend a lot of time on VOD platforms because I'm consuming shows and films. I'm trying to keep abreast of modern trends. Because the truth about it is that writing has evolved gradually through the years. So you find out that these days, people are, like we know as writers, you have this golden rule of enter late, leave early. Trust me, now people are entering extremely late. There's no need for that old-time pandering and building up scenes. You understand? People move from one location to the other. It's immediate. You don't have to buffer it with another scene. So the stories are fast-paced. These are things you need to know so that at every given point in time, your what you do can compete favorably international.
I can't fool around with audiences these days because they are up and up. They want to watch the next exciting show.
Yes, and you see, the thing about that, which a lot of people don't take into cognizance, is that the same audience that watch your shows watch international shows as well.
That's right.
Because they're so easily available now. You have Netflix, you have Amazon. If you go down your street, there's a guy selling CDs, DVDs of all these things. You can see them on Google. So these same people are consuming this international content. So for you to resonate with them and make some sense and gain their respect, your game has to be on that level as well.
That's right. You know, in recent times, Bonnie Live and Netflix have just signed some MOU to do the fact-based Nobel laureate Yinka's Death and the King's Horse and his debut novel, The Secret Lives of Baba Shegi's Wife. I mean, if you look at those two projects that would be coming very soon, do you consider them on the high side in terms of concept or the low side in terms of concept?
So you see, these are two internationally acclaimed novels, books, so to speak. And for Netflix to want to explore them means that even they have seen the potential for it to resonate with their audience that is majorly millennials and Generation Zs. So this contemporary audience, they've seen enough in it to believe it will resonate with them. It's going to be a big project. It will not, it might, I don't know, it might not be as contemporary as other shows. If you go on Netflix, I mean, there's so many shows that are based on books.
You help script Your Excellency, if I'm right, which is a political statement.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Now, if you compare what was obtained in Your Excellency and move it back to also compare with what would become of the deaths of the King's Horsemen and the Secret Lives of Baba Shegi's wives, what foreseeable impact do you think if you compare both of them?
First things first, if I was going to hazard a guess, I would say that these two shows will probably be working with a much higher budget.
Okay.
Which in turn should instinctively translate to higher production values.
Okay.
I also think that it's a testament to the quality of things like Your Excellency, Royal Hibiscus Hotels, and the other things that Ebony Life has done, which can be found on Netflix, that Netflix would choose to partner with them on this project. You know how things are. If you do your own thing and do it so much dedication, the next man will see the amount of dedication you've put in there and also realize that if they put more money into your hands, if they support you, you will definitely do much, much better, because even with your own money, you've done a lot. So I think that that's probably part of the thinking that would have resulted in that. But in terms of comparison, apart from the fact that we'll probably be working with two different budgets, there might also, I don't know, I can't say for sure, but chances are that the directions might be different, because with Your Excellency, maybe Nigeria was the primary audience and then the international audience the secondary. Chances are with these two projects, the primary audience might be international.
Impressive. You know, at first value, I was going to say, and what I meant from the beginning when I asked that question is that if you look at Your Excellency, it's comedy, but very strong political language. And like you said, its primary audience will be the Nigerian audience. And so I will go on to compare Death and the King's Horsemen or The Secret Lives of Baba Seji's wife with a movie like Harry Topman. Would you agree with me?
Well, go on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Would you agree that at that level where you say, in terms of technical quality and let's call it classic storytelling, there will be a departure from Your Excellency, despite the fact that both of them, or the three, would make almost the same kind of social, political, and economic statements? You agree with me? Okay,
yeah. We just the genres will be different. I agree with you.
Yeah, that's right. Now, in terms of aggregate themes and objectives, which define story directions, you know, you created Daddy's Girls, the winner of MCVA 2016 award for Best TV Series, and you're a story consultant on MTV Best series Sugar 4. For me, this is a lot of versatility, you know, from you. you know. So what sort of themes and objectives should inform our storytelling in Nigeria, even outside Nigeria? I always believe that if Nollywood movies do not tell stories that travel, we probably will remain where we are. That's why I always believe in value addition. So what's your take? Does it mean that, in terms of versatility, do these productions or stories define your understanding of the kind of themes we should, explain, and objectives of educating the audience?
Okay, so most of the time when I'm asked for my profile or CV, I usually drop a condensed one. The truth about it is that I've created Hausa TV shows.
Yeah.
I've created Yoruba TV shows.
Yeah.
I've created Igbo TV shows.
You're very versatile.
Because storytelling is storytelling.
Yes, right.
And it's not about understanding language or necessarily knowing so much about the nuances of the people. The truth about it is that things like nuances, the culture, and all that, those are the bold colors you add to the tapestry.
That's right.
When you finish your sketch.
That's right.
So the sketch is storytelling. So I can tell any story. I can tell stories about Zulus, about anything. Then I might probably need some Zulu writers to help me color. Put just bold colors on the tapestry. Yeah, so based on that, I think that's one of the things that's made it easier for me to either create shows across a wide spectrum or be story consultant for a lot of things. And I think something that also, another thing that helps is the fact that I've lived a checkered life and I'm still living a checkered life. So I'm at home in the back streets of Mushi as I am in the high streets of Victoria Island. I go blend.
Yes. All right. So, yeah, if you're watching, I'm still talking to Yinka Ogun, the versatile storyteller and screenwriter. So my next question would be, if you, like you said, are able to harvest so much from tapestry of cultural tapestries, do those bases influence your ability to, become a judge in stories? I know they would, but how do they actually influence your ability to judge stories, screenwriting entries, and all that?
Okay, so I'll tell you what. If I'm judging Nigerian stuff, I tend to lower the bar.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. So I'll tell you what. Recently, I was one of the judges on in an international competition. It was actually by the Writers Guild of South Africa, so I was a final round judge. And the criteria, which was the normal standard, would have been ridiculously high for Nigeria, in the sense that a lot of writers, with due respect, are quite sloppy with their jobs. People have problems with tenses, horrible problems with tenses. A lot of people don't proofread their scripts. They will not dot their I's, cross their T's. They feel it's not important. You read some scripts and you get the feeling that the person just feels, you go understand what I did say. I don't understand. You must spell it rightly. So you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So going to critique scripts based on dotted I's, crossed T's, tenses, all that, now, they're really tight. But beyond that, I think that most importantly, if I've not digressed, I think that the most important thing is I look for the ethos, the heart of the story.
Okay.
You understand? Exposition. Is the person revealing these things in such an exciting, engaging way? And dialogue. Is dialogue realistic? You understand? I mean, I've had interesting experiences with dialogue because people just write and they forget the character, the characterization. You understand? How do you? Okay, so a woman who grew up in the village, you understand? She's in her 70s. She's seen her grandchildren and says, come give me some sugar. Excuse me. You understand? Doesn't make sense. You have explained, you have gone out of your way to let us know that this is a woman who tries to be funky, who apes everything she sees on TV. Then we can understand why she says so. But if not, why are you saying that? I read the script once, and so the daughter-in-law was talking to the mother-in-law and saying, "Mama, your bread, eggs, and tea are ready." And then just later, the son comes and says, "Mama, why are you making your bread, eggs, and tea?" Just say breakfast. Mama, your breakfast.
I always say one thing. You see, when people do not have good beginning in terms of literature, what are you looking for as a scriptwriter? What are you doing as a scriptwriter? I'd also say that I don't know why producers shy away from employing scriptwriters that know their onions. I told you before that there was a time when you wanted to recruit me to be a writer on a series, and we flopped. So from then on, I told myself, for every script that I will write, I will do peculiar research, I will do peculiar exposition, I will do peculiar subtext in terms of my dialogue. But that's what a lot of people don't understand, that for every story, there are peculiar text that you write, or dialogue, or description that you write. And so, in doing so, some peculiar scripts have their own linguistic yardsticks that must express the story the right way. So I don't know. So the next question would be, how would you advise a collaborative harmony between the producer and the scriptwriter, so that at the end of the day, the scriptwriter reflects what the producer wants? Not when a producer thinks that way, a writer thinks that way, and they are not in harmony, they are not on the same page. How do we go about creating that synergy, so that when stories come out, they make sense? They can go international. I always say they can travel. And people beat their chest and say, "Oh, we sell our movies in America. The diaspora buys our films." I remember some time ago when there was this funding conference at the National Theatre, Igomo, and somebody said, "This is how we do our films." Whereas the financiers were telling the producers, "Look, if you do this, your stories will travel, and so we can give you money." Believe me, up till now, a lot of people in Nollywood just stubbornly refuse to upgrade their games. So where do we go from here?
Okay, as concerns the writer and the producer, they're often at loggerheads.
Which is not healthy.
It's still happening today. I mean, yes, earlier today, on the platform for the Writers Guild, something like that still came up, and I said my piece where that thing is concerned. The truth about it is that because we do not really operate in a very professional way, we tend to have that disconnect between writers and producers. And one of the people I enjoy working with the most is Ebony Live, because I never have those kind of issues with them, for the simple reason that developmental process is a collaborative effort,
and it's continuous.
Yes, and so when it's collaborative, you completely understand what the producer wants. You understand their mindset. And it is your job to offer the best advice and everything. But at the end of the day, if the producer is insistent, of course, then you guys go back to the fact that he's your client engaging you for a job. But in as much as possible, you try to give them the best advice. So this is where I'm going with it. The problem usually is sometimes the producer comes and says, I have a story. Then he recounts the story for 3 minutes. Then he says, go and write. 3 minutes. Then you go and develop that is 3 minutes to something that can do 90 minutes. Then you write it. I say, no, this is not what I wanted. 3 minutes.
And the producer might, sorry to interrupt you, the producer might not even understand the story he or she is trying to tell. So how would the screenwriter understand the story to write to suit what he wants?
Most of the time, someone told him about one woman whose husband was cheating on her, and to show him, she committed suicide. You now tell that story. Do you understand?
Yes.
You don't have that minutes. What was relationship and everything? So when you now can't create yours, you now come and say, no, this is not what I wanted. But you only talk to me for 3 minutes. Some people, I tell you, people have had to work with ridiculous things. I have had to work with a title. A producer once gave me a title. This is the title of the film. No story. This is the title. Go create a story that fits this title. Of course, I won't do that kind of work again. But hey, I did it at one point, and I know a lot of people are going through that. So, this advice is that for writers, first things first, it's either the producer has a treatment or a synopsis that they've written. If they don't have, let them give you a voice note of the story. But what you will do is tell them, okay, you don't have a story really. You have this idea. Before we move forward, we need to have a treatment. So you will pay me X amount, I will write the treatment. Then we will go back and forth and agree on that treatment. When we are both pleased with the treatment, or most importantly, when you are pleased with the treatment, I will now go and script.
Yes.
Knowing that it is wanted. So it's not that tomorrow you will come and from a real life experience. I once did a script for a producer, and later I come and say, what if you change the character from male to female? And I'm like, well, no problem now. That's a new job now. Let's start.
So let me just come in there. If a writer must develop a story idea to fruition, won't the producer at least make effort to pay development fees?
So that's why I said now. First things first. Before you write the treatment, you must collect a percentage of money because you've started the work.
Yes.
When they pay, you will now do the treatment. When you've now agreed on the treatment, they will now give you a percentage upfront to start the work.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, before you type the first exterior Chima's house day, you already have between 50 and 70% of your money in your account. That's the only way it makes sense.
And it will be shocking to you that people don't understand what logline does to every story that is written for screenplay. Logline, you're just talking about treatment. Some of them don't know how to write logline. Some of them don't know how to write the very treatment you're talking about, not to talk of writing going forward to write the script. So could you throw a little more light on logline towards treatment and all that?
Well, in terms of the logline, the logline is that sentence that how do I put it? The logline is that statement that essentially captures the whole story, the essence of the story in one line. And that's why it's sometimes called the elevator pitch.
That's right.
You understand? Yeah, so because, I mean, if you meet this studio head and all that, you only have about, between the door and the sky, It's probably you can't start a long story.
To wrap
So
up
you
your
have to
story.
engage it.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
so
right.
you can only make one statement, one sentence. So you have to capture the whole story in that one statement in such a way that is engaging and intriguing enough for him to either slow down and say, tell me more, which you now move into the synopsis, sort of, or he says, be here tomorrow. But you would have made progress if your
Yes.
log line is saying,
When you created Tinsel, you left it off for some time and other writers came in, and the production went on. Today it's 2,000, what is it again? 2,859 episodes. Were you ever afraid that the concept would derail?
no. You see, the whole idea is that it was developed, it was created as a daily show. And the beauty of a daily show is when it's well created, it can last for as long as possible. So you have shows of 30 years, you have shows of 20 years. Igoli was about 15 or 16 years. If it's properly created, it can go for as long as possible. So it's not a surprise. And then they also keep getting
Yes.
experienced and talented people to run the scripting department. So yeah, it becomes like a factory line. It continues churning out.
Okay, let's go. I mean, you work with people like Tunde Kalani. You've also written for Ebony, even produced, if I may say so. You've done a lot of titles like The Governor, Live 101, Sons of the Caliphate, Royal Hibiscus, Oloture, and a human trafficking thriller. How have these experiences built your versatility and international outlook?
Every job comes with its own challenges, which once you conquer, adds an extra feather to your heart, because it means now you can do this. Now you know this. So I'll give you an example. Initially I said something about being a storyteller, and I can tell a story yeah. So what I essentially did for Sons of Caliphate was I was the story consultant.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there's this story set in the north and everything and all that. But the bottom line is that it's about, at the heart of it is interesting storytelling, making the best use of the characters you have. You understand? Telling the story the best way. And it was very interesting for me. And when I did that, after doing that, there were a lot of things I learned from that. With the governor, I learned a lot about the political terrain, relationships on that level, and how people in places of power at their core are no different from everyday people. If you remove the trappings of power and all that. So with Life 101, Life 101 was interesting and challenging on its own because I don't think any of the characters was older than 20. You understand? And I was also the head writer for that. So everyone brings its own challenge, and once you overcome that challenge, you find that if that kind of thing comes up again, you can easily deal with it because now you have the experience.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, if you're watching, I've been talking to the maestro himself, Yinka Ogun, creator of Tinsel. My last question to you, Yinka, would be, why is it, you were born in England, why is it so peculiar that many of us who came back from the UK, America, seem to do more than or do well off than those that are here in terms of storytelling? I know it's about environment, but I would want you to make some comment regarding that. Why is it that people have been to, who are Tokumbos, who come back to this country and do better than those that are here trying to tell our own peculiar stories, which I would believe that for Netflix to have come into Nigeria to have MOU with Ebony Live, it means they saw something. Why is it so peculiar? Look at Mo Abudu, she was abroad. Do you understand? You were born in England, let me put it that way. Why is it that so many of us who are abroad seem to do better than people here? Why is it like that? Why is it that we cannot up our game to meet up with those that come back into this country and make movies? Is it stubbornness? Is whatever it is, I don't know.
To be very honest, I'm not sure it has anything to do with that. I think it's just a bit of a coincidence. And yeah, because again, if you look at the wider spectrum, there are a lot of people who are doing very good things, and they're not born outside this country. The thing there is that if you were born outside the country, grew up outside the country, chances are that one, you would have been exposed to a higher level of the profession than you would meet here, that you generally meet here. There's some very professional people here. But then, you know, it's like a pyramid. The more professional it gets, you understand, the smaller, the thinner it is. You don't have so many people there. So if you've been outside the country, you would have probably, it would be easier for you to run into people who have that level of professionalism. And it might inspire you. You understand? That's it. But I don't think necessarily has anything to do.
Well, we're about to close the show. I tell you what, you cannot exhaust this man, Yinka Ogun. I've known him for many years. But one takeaway that I would want to take away from this discussion is that for you to be a storyteller or a screenwriter, or storyteller to screenwriter, you must harvest from many spheres of culture. And if you want to immortalize your name, like he said, you also have to do what you need to do in terms of, you know, studying, in terms of discovering, in terms of entering cultures, whether you experience culture shock or not. It is well for you. It is good for us, storytellers and screenwriters, to do what we're supposed to do to upgrade our game. Yinka, I thank you so much for coming to Film Talk. I believe I should have you again because, I mean, we have not exhausted what you need to say. We have so little time.
No problem.
Probably when we have a seminar or something, we'll be able to exhaust all that you've accumulated over the years. Thank you so much. I want to have you again. Thank you so much for coming along. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, you've been watching Film Talk. We're available at filmlab.ng, you know, and we're also available on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for watching.
They need us, they need us, they need us.